Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. Now, we're trying out a different format here on the phone. So if the phone is flipped, you guys let me know if the video is the right way up here. We got a very special show today because we're going to be talking about a few bits of business first. We have a PDCA contractor question of the week. And then we also have my beautiful air-assisted airless machine here too, which we're going to be doing a quick demo. I'm going to be showing you how I use it. We're going to be talking about theory. I have a whole bunch of examples here to show you guys of how to use it, when to use it, why to use it, things like that. I'm going to walk you through my job site, and as always, any questions you guys have, any comments you guys have, leave them down below. We're happy to talk about anything. Now, today we're going to be doing air-assisted airless spraying, which is a very popular topic. I seem to be getting tons and tons and tons of direct messages, comments on my feeds about what is this, how do you use it? I've not mastered it. Russ Perry, how's it going? We're going to talk all about it today. So first of all, let's go through a little bit of business here. Idea Home. So first off, every year we get asked to do the Idea Home for the Home and Garden Show in Minneapolis. They build a house in a week. We get 1 day to paint the entire thing. We did that. There's a series of live videos for you guys to watch. I think if you type in the hashtag 1 day 1 house project, hashtag 1 day 1 house, you can see all the live videos. I even climbed up into the rafters and took some pictures of that. You can actually go see my handiwork and that Idea Home this weekend at the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show. I have a whole stack of free tickets for my local New Pragians and other people there. Feel free to let me know. You can come by my house, pick some up. I can leave some out for you. Otherwise, I'm going to bring all my kids there and we're going to go tour that Idea House. It's got a whole bunch of innovative stuff from Kohler and audiovisual and electronics and smart home and things like that. So we're going to go tour that. So that's this weekend here. I believe it goes for a weekend or two, so you can stop by there. PDCA contractor question of the week. We're going to go through that, then we're going to go do a quick job site walk. So PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, one of the best organizations if you're going to be a painter. It's got the biggest group of the best paint business entrepreneurs in the world. Their national expo is actually coming up around about the second week of March, so very closely here. We're only a couple weeks out. I'm actually going to be giving my master's class on the modern apprenticeship. So something we're going to talk about today, what it's like for an apprentice on the first day. There's going to be the likes of Dustin Zapanzik, let's see, Jason Paris, all the people you know and love from this show and from social media. Zach Kenny, a lot of those guys are going to be there, and we're going to do tons of live feeds, and I'm going to be giving a master's class, so you guys can look forward to that. PDCA contractor question of the week. The question this week is, what's it like for an apprentice on the first day or their first week? So we have a very distinct process for onboarding somebody new. There's some things that we do beforehand, which is all the legal stuff. You get the W-4, you get the I-9, you get pant size, shirt size, hat, sweatshirt, all that stuff, the basic stuff. But when it comes time to show up for the first day, they have their uniforms. We've already sent them a copy of our apprentice handbook, which is basically an employment guide for the company. Tells you about the apprenticeship program, tells you about legal stuff, employment law, so breaks, vehicles, lunches, when you get paid, how you get paid, things like that, all the clinical sort of things. But on the first day, they sign a sheet that says, I read and understand the apprentice book. Also, the first thing we do with our people is we onboard them with safety training. We have a formal safety training program, a whole bunch of stuff that I gathered from OSHA, a whole bunch of stuff I gathered from manufacturers, and some videos that I made myself, because there's not a safety program plug and play for painters. So you call up OSHA and you say, I want to be perfect. I want to remove all liability for myself. I want to have the safest people. Give me your painter's program. There is not a painter's program. So you kind of have to cobble it all together from other things. Fall protection, ladders, personal safety gear, flammable vapors, chemicals, things like that. And also, it seems that in the safety world, there is stuff that you're made to do to be safe, and there's stuff that will actually keep you safe. Sometimes there's overlapping things, there's concentric circles where they meet, but a lot of the times I like to make my own videos, my own safety program, because there's 10 things or so that I really like to hit on, and I can do that very specifically, and you'll never find those things in formal safety programs, like how to stack ladders on top of a vehicle and secure them. how to, when we're working around unique landscaping, how to actually be safe on a ladder versus, the clinical way that a lot of the OSHA stuff is presented. A lot of roof safety stuff too that's specific to painters. So I like to go through all that. We couple them with a crew. In the last year or so, I've kind of come by the idea that I'd like to couple brand new apprentices with a two-person crew that's already cohesive, already knows what they're doing. It seemed in the past that there's not a lot of people who like training a lot, and it used to be burdensome when you'd have a person who knows what they're doing and you attach somebody to train. It seemed like they didn't enjoy work as much as when there was a senior person, somebody who's been through the apprenticeship program, knows what they're doing as well, and then you add a new person in so that the two people who know what they're doing can tag team and help out with this, so they kind of get a break from training. So maybe it's the people that I've gathered up in my business. We have certain distinct personality styles where we're not always gravitating towards human contact with other people. So what we have to do is sort of lighten the load for the trainer, and we have a plan to do that this year, where we have so many months, we're going to bring on so many apprentices, train them, and get them moving through the system. But basically we couple them with a craftsperson, and everybody seems to like the idea of a manual, a series of videos, a scheduled way of moving people through work. And honestly, the processes would get so difficult at that point that you have to spend so much time manning the processes and overseeing them, that I've decided to basically just say, whatever my training crew is doing that day, you're going to go with them and you're going to learn that the best you can, and we continue on that way. And if after a while you haven't got spray training, or you haven't done a set of cabinets in a while, we may rotate you through to other crews. But it's basically, we have such a variety of work that will keep people with the crew, and we'll just let them do what they do, and eventually they get enough experience. So within a matter of a couple of weeks, we can make somebody sort of like a viable entity that sort of knows what they're doing, and then over the next year, we basically build up the skill. And in Minnesota, we have distinct seasons. We have 6 months inside, 6 months outside, things like that. So let me check the comments here, and we'll do a quick job site visit. All right. All right, thanks everybody. Jade, can you rotate your phone? Oh shoot, I bet, let me see what I can do here. I tried to, you guys let me know if that's any better. Yeah, I tried to do a mirror image so you guys can actually read my writing up there, so I guess we'll see how it looks here. So maybe we'll try this here. Okay, so I tell you what, let's do a quick job site walk, and then we'll get down to the air-assisted airless sprayer. So we are on a big, beautiful new home here. I get my phone set back up here, and it's about a 10,000 square footer. We have second floor right here, where the woodwork has now been patched, caulked. Nick Painter, thank you for watching. Let me know if the phone is rotated right. I tried to do a mirror image so everybody can read my writing. Let me know if this thing's upright. So woodwork here has been patched, caulked, primed, SVT'd, sanded, vacked, and tacked. First coat of enamel is on and drying, and we're gonna do another coat of enamel later today. I'll see if I can find a nice, beauty shot of the enamel here, but cabinet's already protected. Laundry room up here. We're setting up in here to do a little door spraying area. Oh, thanks, Russ. I got it right. So yeah, you can see, maybe this is a good one here. You can see this beautiful crown. Oh yeah, there we go. First coat of enamel on there, ready to go. Love, love, love that look. See if we can find another thing that catches the light here. Yeah, I love this stuff. So we're just kind of working our way through the house. There we go. Protecting some cabinets. So yeah, we'll do the last coat of enamel. It'll be a nice kind of end to a fry. Oh, there you go. There you go. the stuff covers so well in one, but really when you do that second coat, it really just adds like almost depth to it. You know, it's hard to explain when you're dealing with a solid coating, but all right, let's see if I can get... There we go. All right, Connor, how's it going? Any advice about SVT, Nick Painter specifically? Great room. Contractor's nice enough to leave us the scaffolding so we can finish this area here. Kitchen. Got the stone guy still cutting here. Ryan, on this job we are using, oh, there's Holly plugging away, finishing up the week's paperwork there at the island, our little mobile work site. It's gonna be Advance on this one. So yeah, with this one I felt a little more comfortable using Advance just because of the finish that they were looking at. So I got my little mobile office set up in here. We got the fireplace room, painted the ceiling black. There's gonna be a wood feature up there and they want the cracks to hide. And let me go downstairs, show you guys something interesting. Let's go back down here. There's bits and pieces down here that we've been enameling. We got a bedroom suite down here that we've finished. Just keeping stonework and everything else clean. Through here is actually really cool. This is one of the neatest parts of the whole house here. So come into here and you have a full-size basketball court indoors. So we've already finished the ceiling. We've primed all the walls. We're working on trim ledge here and ledges up on the window there. Again, nice enough to leave us a section of scaffolding and a scissors lift here. We have the trim going, getting finished on big house. Got to snake your way all through it here. So we started some miscellaneous prep and some other stuff here. All right. Okay. So let's talk about air-assisted airless. A lot of mysteries surrounding air-assisted airless. Basically, it is a airless sprayer with a air compressor attached to it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, where the mystery and the novelty and the sort of problems come in is you start adding up a lot of variables. So now, I think we lost our mirror image, but there is the coating. And all these things, if you don't track your coatings carefully, if you don't track how you apply them carefully, sometimes things go wrong and you don't know why. So that's why I'm going to list out these variables here. You have the coating. Do you thin the coating? That's another variable. How much? You have tip size. You have line pressure. And that's basically in a standard airless machine, what PSI do you run, your line at? On this machine, there's an air compressor, so air assist. And now with this one too, special gun for the air-assisted airless. You have a special guard that has 4 air ports in it right here. Because when you trigger it, there's a 2-stage trigger. There's a 1 stage, and then you pull it back even farther, and that's your line pressure. So the first stage is when you release the compressed air from the air compressor. It comes out of those 4 ports, 4 jets, and it helps to atomize the paint. And it's got a special guard on it. Now these are not cheap too, and they take a little doing to keep all those ports clean, but they're good. And then you also have this knob down here, the air. You're basically your how you control your air. So there's another variable. Now, other things that you have to take into consideration are distance, physical distance from your hand to the wall, hand speed. So the distance from the wall and the hand speed are usually connected to each other. Closer to the wall, you got to move faster. Farther away from the wall, you move slower. And then weather. So, especially in Minnesota, not a big deal, but you know, you run into those sort of bookended seasons, the early spring, the late fall, where it can be 100% humidity, 52 degrees outside, and you can be spraying enamel in a house and it just will not dry. Also, likewise, if you're in Arizona, it's 103 degrees outside, 0% humidity, you have other considerations to take. So before we start talking about going through our spray patterns and things like that, let's see if we have any questions, comments. Okay, Nick Painter, oh, that's an SVT one. Oh, Phil Klein, thanks for watching. Marshawn Cummins, thanks for watching as well. Aaron Campbell. Would that sprayer be used as much for exterior as interior? Ryan Garal. No. That's a great question, though. It's one that's actually never come up. The only time I've ever seen air-assisted airless user on fine finishing. Now, not to say you couldn't do, like if you had 30 exterior metal sconces that you wanted to do a really fine sort of DTM or like a trim urethane or something on them, you could certainly use it for that. But this is not really a production painter. This is a super refined, think about this machine as a super refined machine that does really delicate, intricate, fine work, something like that. And the whole purpose of this is to basically take the paint and atomize it even further so that the droplets are smaller, so that when it actually lands on the trim, you know, you kind of get rid of that orange peel and you can achieve another level of finish like that. So Phil Klein, thank you so much, and thanks for the box of stuff you sent me there too. Sean Comerford as well. Okay, so let's talk about the actual spray patterns here. I'll see if I can adjust my tripod here. All right, so the thinking is, on the air-assisted airless machine, you have a standard airless pump here. There is a standard airless line here that all you guys know. Underneath, hidden underneath this guy, is an air compressor, and it has a separate line. So there's a special group line that goes all the way to the gun. And you can see that the standard, the two lines come together. It's got a nice protective mesh on it to keep them together and to protect it. And as you get a little closer, there's some couplings that give you an actual, it's basically like a whip, a thinner version of those two lines. Now I protect mine with tape just to kind of keep it clean, keep it all together. I don't like, you know, a bunch of paint and overspray getting caught up in here. And then all the way to the gun. We usually take our guns in, you know, maybe once or twice a year and completely overhaul them, clean them, everything else. Otherwise, a little overspray never hurt anything. Here is the air valve adjuster here. Oh, let's see, Sean, how's it going, man? Phil, have you found an easy way to keep the ports clean while spraying? That's a huge issue. Yes, so the only complaint I hear about these machines is that these ports, those four little ports, you can see, now let's see if I can get this held better here. So, four little ports you see right in the corner there. So here, 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 and here. These things, you can see this one's starting to clog a little bit. This one's nice and clean, the other are clean. I checked them before we did this. The only trick that I found, and this is gonna really depend on what type of enamel that you end up spraying or paint you spray through this. Oils will clog less because the stuff stays wet longer. Any fast drying stuff, especially if you're going with lacquers and stuff too, it tends to build up here quick and you're gonna have to clean them out. Now, I keep a series of wires in here. Those are underneath the tray. But the only other trick I found, Phil, is my magical sample jar here. So I have another tip and I rotate them out when spraying. So I have one in lacquer thinner or alcohol or something that keeps everything wet. And I just sort of rotate them in and out of there. Take it out, make sure the ports are clean. You can see this one got gummed up. When you take that sucker out, clean it up and pop it on, and then you take this one, pop it in the jar, and then kind of rotate through like that. And honestly, I've not found a better way, and I've not found a coating that is like a self-cleaning or a or a non sort of clogging coating with that stuff. So that's the thinking with the machine. Now, the way that people run into problems here is that they don't control their variables. You have your standard sort of airless control here with your knob that controls line pressure, digital readout, which is nice because like this is my cheat guide. They also give you a cheat guide. I do it a little differently. You can sort of track your variables. So on the side here, you have the choice. Right now it's off. You can pop it just airless. Oops, excuse me, that's air assisted airless, or you can just go pure airless. Standard machine there. So you can hear the air compressor kick in here. And that does both. Now, with the air compressor, there is a dial, and thank God there's dials on both of these things because you can track and test your coatings like this, and we'll go through that in a second here. Let's see, Phil, he's got a 595 and through. Ooh, you got the big boy, the 595. This one's just the 395 here. So to adjust your air compressor pressure, you pop the knob out and you turn it to whatever pressure you like. It'll build. You can also release, just like how you release line pressure from here to move it up and down. You can also trigger the gun. Oh, you can hear the, see, that's the first stage. If you pull it any farther than that, fluid will come out. You can release the pressure there. The problem that people have with this machine, and the reason why it's not as simple as an airless, is basically because you add another variable. So when you're looking at variables, if you keep the coating the same, if you don't thin it, I normally don't thin my coatings. I usually, if you have to thin your coatings, you usually have to just pick a different applicator. The tip, we usually try to keep the tip the same. So this last year, I've been trying to basically keep everything, I've been trying to streamline my whole spray works because I used to have this Bible of spray stuff where it was every coating, every fluid, every machine, pressure, tip, everything, extensions, clean shot valves, and as soon as FFLP showed up like that, you know, that kind of changed a lot of what I did. So those tips took the place of a lot of them. Now, what we've been falling back on right now is basically either a 308 or a 310. I sort of like the 308 as a tip for maybe the less experienced people. It seems to tighter orifice, usually not recommended in the technical data sheets, but it does control the fluid more. It's more delicate. It's not going to be a huge production tip, but way less runs for people who maybe don't have a lot of spray experience. My guys on this job site, they preferred the 310. Again, it's a smaller tip size, but it's still, you can get a lot of production done. I think in 2 hours they did all the trim in this thing here. So, oh, Mike Yachek, thanks for watching. So yeah, I try to control the variables. So when you're looking up here, we try to keep the tips about the same. The line pressure, that goes up and down, and the air compressor pressure goes up and down. Those are the two big variables. The gun air, the actual knob right here, I usually just leave wide open just as to remove another variable from the process. But that can be adjusted too. But you know, I found that if you mess with line pressure and you mess with air assist pressure enough, you kind of don't have to mess with this too much. That's just my way of handling these machines. You have distance from the wall. That's kind of a personal thing. And hand speed, you can control that kind of on the fly. There's not a great scientific way to control that. And of course, weather. So what I do with this, and I'll kind of show you my theory. The goal of one of these, turn this around here, the goal of an air-assisted airless machine is basically like if you had an elevator pitch for an air-assisted airless machine, you would basically say you can spray at a much lower pressure. So you're not billowing all the overspray around, and you get a finer atomization. It's a more delicate machine. So a lot happens at the end of this tip. Instead of just shooting pressurized paint out, pressurized paint gets shot out through the normal tip, and then when you throw in an FFLP, you get double atomization. Then the puff of air hits it, and it further particularizes it, sort of deal, atomizes it, and gets it on there. So let's go through my spray stuff here, and I'll kind of show you the thinking behind air-assisted airless. So, machine here, 1200 PSI line pressure, zero air compressor. So basically we're running a standard Graco machine, 1200 PSI. Now, this is fine, not a bad pattern, but it's very heavy down the middle. You can tell, straight down here. And it's got a wide band of feathering at the end. Now, no tails, which is good, not bad, but when you, especially if you see this stuff wet, it adds a lot of paint right down the middle, maybe even too much right down the middle. This area is probably perfect. This area is good feather. This area is just kind of, this could get gravelly on jobs. So here's the thinking. Let's take this 1200 PSI and let's drop the pressure down to 800 PSI with no air compressor. This is what it looks like. Everybody knows this. You get the tails running down just like this. Not good. We've all seen jobs done where that's the case. So then we start adding in, I love the scientific process with this machine. So instead of just randomly guessing what air assist pressure and line pressure, we start from what we know. 1200 with a FFLP tip, pretty good. 800 PSI gives us tails, we can't do that. So let's go 800 PSI and see if we can pop in the air assist, 10 PSI there. And it did a little. You can see it sort of helped atomize in the middle, but it's still not enough pressure to get rid of the tails. So let's bump it up to 20. So we're still running 800 line pressure. We're going 20 PSI on the air assist, and you can see we're starting to connect. We're starting to do better. It's starting to feather out a little bit. So let's keep going. Let's keep moving our air assist. We got 800 PSI. We bumped it up to 30. Line pressure at 800, 30 air assist, and you can see we're coming together. Slightest bit of tails. This could probably be passable if you're doing thin trim. It really wouldn't affect us. But if you're doing a whole series of doors and things like that, number one, I would switch to a bigger tip. Number two, you're probably going to tiger stripe a little bit here. So then, with my experience, and there is actually a cheat guide right here. They have some quick reference guides. They have stains and varnish, lacquers, DTM, water, oil, and enamels. The recommendation for enamel is about a 10 or a 12 orifice size, 1800 to 24 PSI, and then 25 to 30 PSI on the air compressor. Now you notice here, you notice there are no recommendations that go up to 40, 45, things like that. And I've messed around with super low line pressure and higher air assist pressure, and you end up getting kind of a billowy, not great fan pattern. It kicks around the stuff like a mist. So in my experience, instead of going past 30, which I don't normally see that as a benefit, we'll kick up the line pressure on this one. So instead of 830, let's go 1030. And you can see we're getting a little better pattern here. Let's back up a little bit so you can see this, but we're still getting the slightest bit of tails right here. So now what that tells me is we're getting close. We're getting great atomization through here, but when we get tails like this, the air-assisted airless part usually doesn't get rid of the tails. It's the line pressure that gets rid of the tails. So this is what I ended up on for this. And for this particular coating, this is Benjamin Moore Advanced Satin. We didn't step on it, we didn't cut it at all, it's not thinned. For this is about a perfect pattern right here for us. 1200 line pressure, 30 PSI. You could probably kick this down. What I've noticed is that if you go from 30 to 28, obviously no difference in there. If you go from 30 to 25, usually not a difference. You can usually go 5 PSI on the air assist, give or take. And when you see this machine cycle, you'll even see it. It does a really good job of keeping up, but it will cycle and it's gonna bump a PSI here or there. So what we've come across for this one is 1200 line pressure, 30 PSI, did a stripe, it's beautiful. Now, it gives a nice coating right down the middle of stripe, and it pushes it out as far as it can, and then it has this nice ramp off right towards the end where it just quickly feathers. Now, you can see on the 1200 with no, this one has no air assist on it. It's got a way bigger ramp up. So whether you get real heavy, you get a good amount of coverage right here, and then you get a large ramp off, which is about a 2-inch sort of feathering period. This one breaks it down to about 1 inch right at the end. It's a nice feathering thing. So you're taking the total effective path, the evenness of it, and spreading it out a little farther. So it's not too heavy in the middle. From here to about here, it's perfectly even throughout the pattern there. And that's gonna give you a nice even finish, and it atomizes a little better. Now, just to test the theory then, well, it's like, listen, if we can do 1200 line pressure with this at 30 PSI and we get this, what happens when we just get rid of this? This is what happens. You can start seeing tails build again. So basically, the benefit of the air-assisted airless is this would have tails. This 30 PSI takes this tail and takes this weird irregular ramp off area and just atomizes that. It just gives it a poof right at the end to give you a nicer even pattern like this. And so here, if you guys want to screenshot this one, this is basically what the difference between, and we're using FFLP 310 on this. Normal tip, this is what the machine and the TDSs sort of recommend. They recommend a 10 to 12 orifice, 1800 to 24 line pressure, 25 to 30 PSI. Now, why we get this result instead of this is because FFLP. The FFLP has another built-in atomization. So basically we can take, what would be a larger orifice, we can do a smaller orifice, we're doing a 310, and we can take it from 1800 to 24 down to 1200, and then we keep it at about 30. Now, what you can probably do with this too, and I don't mess around with the variables too much, only because when you find something that works reliably, there is another way to replicate that, sort of. What you can do is maybe bump it up to about 14 or 1500 line pressure, take this down to 25, and then that will, in my experience, mess around in the shop, that'll give you something similar to this, but it's always better to have the lowest line pressure you can with spraying fine finishes. That's what I've found. All right, let's see what we have. We'll actually do some spraying here too. Mike Yachek, this is amazing. Thank you for your time and prep explanation. Of course, Mike, I love this. I know you're a big fan of all this stuff too. So please, people, comments, questions, whatever you want to know, whatever you want to see, this is what we're here for. Darren, thanks for watching. Brian, you may have answered this as I joined late, but have you played with the flat tip? No. So I have played with those in my shop. Great things, but again, I'm trying to remove variables here. So when we take this machine, the air-assisted airless, or we take a standard 395, we take a Titan, we take any other airless machine out there, I want to eliminate all these tips because most professional painters have a lot of questions and mystery surrounding this sort of thing. What do you think young apprentices who haven't had 5, 10, 20, 25 years of experience with this, their brains just melt at the thought of it. So what I try to do is to say, here's our standard tip for painting an outside of a house with water-based paint. Here's our standard tip for doing fine finishing inside. We like the 308 FFLP, the 310 FFLP. Once in a while, we'll bump it up, maybe like a 610, 612 when we do doors FFLP, but we really like to keep it simple. What my goal in the company is basically, if we do something outside, we have a tip. If we do trim inside, we have a tip. If we prime the walls and the ceilings like we do here, we have a tip. And so what I don't want to do is then throw in flat tips, because then even most experienced painters don't even understand flat tips. So I want to remove variables. And when you can get a beautiful pattern like this, I'm not running out the door trying to add in more complicated things. And with 308, 310 FFLP tips, things like that, you can walk into your Sherwin-Williams, walk into your Benjamin Moore dealers, Ace Hardwares and things that have a robust paint department and find this stuff. Flat tips, maybe not so much. So again, I'm not opposed to any of the stuff, but when you run a business like this and you have a whole bunch of people, sort of learning, you have to control variables. Like you can see this list here. I'll show you again. What I try to do is we have standard coatings like this. I try to do 1 or 2 coatings. I don't thin my stuff, so we've eliminated that variable. We have 1 or 2 tips, so we've already limited this from all the tips in the world, hundreds of tips, down to basically 2 options. And we always start with sort of 1. Line pressure and air assist, we do mess with those. Gun air, I've eliminated that one. We just leave it wide open. Distance and hand speed, everybody's going to do that different. I can't control it, so I just basically leave that as is. I give instruction, I tell people what I want, and then hopefully they go out and do it. And then weather, obviously we can't control that, but it's just something, wind and things like that. So Mike Danahy. So I'm going to fire this thing up. I actually have a couple pieces of crown I'm going to spray here, and then we can take a look at the finish, and then we can answer any of your guys' questions. If you have specific questions about any of this stuff, any of the stuff we talked about before, variables, things like that, I'd be happy to answer those comments, questions, and of course we can talk about anything. Give me a couple minutes here. I'll get this thing fired up and we'll spray a couple pieces of crown here as well. All right. Okay. Gun. So first we'll go pure airless. We'll make sure there's no air in the lines. I have the control down to siphon cycle here. So we'll go airless. We'll build our line pressure. So give or take about 15-20 PSI, it kind of cycles, but we're at about 1200 give or take right here. Now we're gonna kick on the air compressor, and I'm gonna check my dial and make sure we're at around about 30. So you can see right at about 30, give or take about 1 PSI. I have my little cheat sheet right here too, so whenever I find something that works on a particular site, want to make it easy for my people, I just write it on there like that, because there are the recommendations, but these don't take into account FFLP tips. So Matthew Varga, does an AAA make it easier to learn than a simple airless? Absolutely not. Airless has enough mystery for most people around it, so I would definitely start with a simple airless machine, and then once you learn the ropes of airless, you've done inside, outside, fine finishing, you've messed with all the tips, you've messed with thinning stuff, extensions, clean shot valves, things like that. Excuse me, air compressor's kicking on. Then I would say, if you get an air-assisted airless in your hands, a lot of that just comes into focus a lot better. Like, you understand when something's doing something like this, you know, like when you have the instance of, oh my God, there's so many variables. We're at 1,000 PSI line, we're at 30 PSI with the air compressor, and we're still getting kind of faint tails. What do we do? Well, let's change the tip. Let's do this. Nope. From experience, you know, just bump up the line pressure, because the quickest way to get rid of tails is that. And you wouldn't know that unless you did your time with an airless like that. So Hector Valencia, nice looking cabinet job today. Thank you. John Harrell, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. So Austin, thanks for watching. John, Matthew Varga, we're not buying an AAA. Anytime you guys are in my neck of the woods, you can always come by and play with mine too if you want. So, all right, this thing is ready to go. I'm gonna spray some crown for you guys, and then we will take a look. All right, let's see here. Matthew Varga, okay, so the one is a stepping stone to the other. I'm just starting to learn an airless machine, so just curious. Yes, now the good thing is, if you lean on your Titan or Graco rep very hard, they will let you try one out, or they might have a demo machine, or they might put you in contact with somebody who does have one and you can try it out. Definitely, I think it will be wasted time if the first spraying experience, or very early on in your spraying career, you grab an air-assisted airless machine, because a lot of it is not going to make sense. Like, you're not going to really appreciate the benefits. You're not going to understand the variables, things like that. So I would definitely start out with pure airless first. How close, John? How close are you guys to spraying a second coat here? Why don't you guys get ready? Maybe I'll film you guys a little bit when you're doing it, okay? So yeah, if it works out here, I'll show you my guys. They're using pure airless. They got the big boy R695 up here, and if it works out right, maybe I'll show you spraying them a little trim here. So Hector, watching from Industrial Leaders is the best use of time. Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome, man. Phil Klein, you too, man. Have a good weekend. Actually, just talked to somebody that a friend of mine down in Iowa. That's thinking about having you do some painting, Phil. So I'm glad we can make the connection. I'm glad I can recommend people I trust. So, all right, let's without further ado, let's get this crown going here. Let's see if I can find a good. Oh, sorry, I'm going to use this real quick.
Oh, right.
I'll bring it up to you guys. Yep.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. I know you guys are eager to get going. So give me a couple minutes here. All right, let's see if we can do. We'll use our homemade sawhorses here. Joy Lee, thank you very much for the kind words. If you guys want any other clarifications, if you guys have any other questions about this stuff, please let me know. I have the whole thing here. I can show you whatever you would like. Okay. I'll show you a quick pattern here. Just shoot a little. Sure we're good. Uh-oh, got a clog. So clog will reverse the tip. Always better to find those before you start spraying trim. There we go. That's what we like. All right, so let's flip this. Oh, Ryan Turry, how's it going? Came just in time, Ryan. All right, you guys can come grab this tip if you like. Okay, so as soon as these guys are done, just don't step on my freshly sprayed crown molding here. These guys are good to go. We'll see if they can't get set up and we'll watch some trim spraying here. Nope, you can leave it on. I'll take care of it. Here, thank you though. All right, so they're getting after it up here. All right. So let's put this around again. Whoop. Nice enamel on this stuff, and the beautiful thing about Advance is that it's got a nice enough open time where, you know, over the next probably 15 minutes or so, any residual sort of orange peel, any residual sort of, you know, leveling that needs to take place will take place. And it's basically that. So, basis of air-assisted airless. Awesome machine, refined machine, delicate machine. It's not a big production machine like that. When we do trim and stuff like that, I find myself slowing down a little bit. It's kind of a fun thing to play with all the variables here to kind of fine tune this. Now, interesting thing is that this is for Benjamin Moore Advance. If you use Emerald Trim Urethane, if you use Oil Impervo, Scuff-X, anything else, you basically kind of start over. And my approach to this whole thing is, listen, I know that hybrid coatings like Advance that are on the thinner side really love the 1230 combination. If I was to put Scuff-X in here, what I might do is bump the line pressure up to maybe 1500 and start at 0 PSI, 10, 20, 30, and work my way up and see the variables there. Now, if you don't get, you know, just like the 1200 PSI in the corner with no air assist pressure, you know, you may want to mess with that a little bit, but just theoretically, if you've done enough airless spraying, the thicker the coating, water-based coatings, things like that, things that tend to be a little more elastomeric, you may want to bump the line pressure up right away. But in theory, I sort of like I dancing around the 800 to 1000 to start off with. Always start low, always start where you know you're going to get tails and move it up from there. Because if you start high already, then you have to go back and forward. And it's a scientific process, just sort of, you know, removing variables. So Mike Danahy, let's see here. For smaller projects, could you achieve the same quality with your X5 versus your 695 for basic tasks like trim? What people don't want to hear is yes, but yes. What I found over the years is with the advent of FFLP tips and things like that, we are very close, if not there, to achieving the same finish with a $250 Graco Airless sprayer from a big box store and an FFLP tip as we are with this guy. Not that I'm going to get rid of this guy. This is a super nice machine. This is a machine for life. An X5 is not a machine for life. We found that we ride them hard and we throw them away at about a year. They don't have an intake filter on them, things like that. So you sort of know, but you know, when you're talking $3,300 versus $250, you know, you can go through a lot of X5s for that. But where this machine really shines is the finer finish you use, you almost have to start stepping up to this. If you watch guys like Zach Kenny, anybody who uses the fine paints of Europe stuff, you'll see lots of air-assisted airless machines, and that's because they are almost a necessity then, and they can always talk about more of that. I've messed with it, but I'm not as prolific and proficient as they are. So yes, good machine. I would definitely not start off with one of these. I would have standard airless. I would have a bunch of other sort of experience. I would dabble with HVLP. I would do all that, so then when you come to this, the more complicated machine, a lot more stuff makes sense. So Brian, do you have any, Brian must have just hopped on here. Do you have any issues with the air holes in the tip clogging after a little while? Yes, this is the one biggest thing that people complain about with the air-assisted airless machines. Like I told you before, there's 4 little air ports in here along the sides, along the corners. You can see them in each corner here. The best way that I found out, and it's kind of funny, most pro painters come along the same sort of fixes, is sample jar, a specimen jar. You get this guy in some sort of thinner something just to keep those ports wet. When they're dry, it is a pain. I've sat, one of my guys before left one of these tips dry with a bunch of enamel in it, and I sat at my workbench with an LED light for about an hour with fine little pieces of wire, snaking them through the ports and stuff like that. So you can see, just through normal spraying, these things get gummed up, and before they dry out, drop it in here. So I have a spare. So basically, when you're going through big houses like this, I usually spray with at least one Apprentice, not only to load up my hopper with paint, but to also control the lines so we don't hit door frames and stuff. And that person will be cleaning out that tip while I'm spraying again, and we can switch it out, rotate them through. And honestly, that's about the best way to do it. Keep them clean, and you can always puff them out with air. Turn that air compressor up and give them a little tss. So yeah, Brian, absolutely not. It's so funny that when guys talk about air-assisted airless, like 3 questions in, it's like, yeah, man, so what do you do with that guard? How do you keep those clean? And it's like, honestly, I've not found a secret, and I've not found coatings that will stay not clogged. So I hear my guys spraying. You guys ready for me to walk through? Okay. And I see that this trim is actually already tacked up. Before we go show them, I'll show you this trim here. You can see a little bit of wet stuff at the end here, but this is basically, you know, no prep work to a piece of pre-primed trim and one quick coat of Advance over the top of this stuff here. It's a beautiful, beautiful finish. Beautiful finish. Okay, let's go check on the guys, see what's up here. I hear the machine working, we must be going, so. And the biggest difference you'll see, like they got our big boy here. This is just standard airless. We just happen to have this one on this site. Normally we use a smaller machine, but we have a lot of machines out in the field right now. You can hear the difference between these machines. When the air-assisted airless was on, it's like delicate, puffy, sort of nice atomized stuff. This is a powerful, powerful machine, especially this one over here. But the machine we have, and all those things are basically pressure makers. So, you know, it can make pressure. Oh, you're gonna, people are asking about the rainbow, John.
Oh.
Rainbow. Love it. It's a double rainbow. Love it. Should let them have a look at that contractor gun too. So we got a whole bunch of these guys in the field now. You can tell we ride our stuff hard here. So standard tip, what are we using, John, for this one? 310. Okay, so we are using, yeah, the same one. Yeah, so brand new contractor guns out in the field. Guys are loving them. We have an adjustable end there. So did we solve the spitting issue too with that? So cool thing about that is we're getting a tiny bit of spitting, and you can actually take off the guard, and there's an adjustable there's an adjustable little cartridge in there, and we got rid of the spitting, which is really cool. So. Rainbow in action. There we go. Very nice. Oops. You can tell we work our way from these ancillary rooms out, because if your cord does hit a door frame, when you're working back here, it's fine because you're working yourself out. So we always start from the farthest area back, come through the bathroom, come through the closet, and then, like they started before, you pick a corner and you basically go around the room like that. We got a big old LED lightsaber there. John put up a little testing on the wall here. We were trying to get the spits out of that gun, and adjusting that cartridge was really cool. Don't know if that's its intended purpose, but it definitely worked. There we go. Rainbow. Rainbow. And one thing that we did on the first coat was, oh, this window doesn't have it, but these corners here, this is a bare piece of poplar, and these are usually pre-primed pieces of MDF, so you get end grain and things like that. And what we do is you take a brush full of enamel, brush that stuff first, and then spray right over it, and then the brush strokes go away, and you fill the end grain manually. So, yeah. As soon as they cleared out here, I'll sneak out and we can call it a day. John, how long have you been spraying? When is the first time you ever sprayed?
Last year.
Last year. And what was my policy with people and spraying? Who did the spraying up until last year?
You did.
Yes. So when John was a apprentice, I used to not let anybody even use a brush inside for a year. I did all the cutting, and everybody else rolled, and they probably rolled themselves into insanity for all that. But we have now moderated that. So, and young Kanan is a great example. Where's Kanan? Hiding back there. Young Kanan's a good example. I threw him at my cabinet crew right away, and within about 4 months, this guy was finishing kitchens all by himself. So I was definitely holding my people back from. So yeah, John's been going at it about a year now, and now we basically just put a sprayer in the hand of everybody in the company right away, and we figure it out. So yeah, let's see what else we got going here. Oh, Matthew, this internet friend of mine, Matthew Varga, he asked how long you've been spraying, and we told him, and he said, good, then there's hope for him. So now Matthew's a frequent watcher of the show. So all right, everybody, thank you so much for following along. I thought I would walk you guys through the air-assisted airless stuff only because I get so many requests. There's so much mystery surrounding this sort of thing, and I just thought I'd use this to clear it up. So pass this along to people with like minds who want to figure out the science, the intricacy of coatings, business, things like that. The kindest thing you can do is to like the Ask a Painter page, share this show, and let's get it out to more people who like this. So, all right, you guys have a good weekend, and we will talk to you later.